How's it going, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Samyang 85mm 1.4 for the Canon RF system. The way I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to have this short introduction, and then I'm going to have some POV footage with the GoPro from the other night where I shot portraits with my amazing girlfriend Debbie out in the city, and I'm going to have the POV footage plus the photos that I was taking on top of the footage, so you can kind of get an idea of how this lens works, what type of photos you can take with it, and how it functions at night, and kind of just see more or less how the lens handles itself at nighttime. And then after that section, I'm gonna just give my overall thoughts, talk about things I like, things I don't like about the lens, and who I think this lens is for. So if you don't care about the POV footage or seeing the photos that this lens can take, you can just go ahead and skip ahead to the end. I included chapters and timestamps in the description. So then just a disclaimer with the POV footage, my girlfriend Debbie, she is beautiful, but she's not a professional model, and I do not consider myself a professional portrait photographer. So take that with a grain of salt and don't look at the photos so much from a technical, portrait photographer perspective. Just kind of see how the lens works, how it functions, how the background looks, how the foreground looks, and all the technical aspects when it comes to the image itself. And before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to my brother Matt at Matt Outdoors on YouTube and Instagram, because he was the one who lended me his GoPro and his whole chest strap setup for the GoPro, so I was able to film the POV footage. So Matt, if you're watching, thank you. If you're into fishing, you're into outdoors, if you're into South Florida, definitely go check out his channel. He is awesome and just good vibes all around on his channel. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of the video. Take 3 steps towards me. Towards me, yeah. Right there, perfect. The edge. And then put your hand here. And then just lean on it and look at the camera. Yeah, just lean on it with your hand here. With this, put this hand at your hip. Yeah, like that. Stay there. There's a spider web on my arm. No. All right, so what we're gonna do is that we have to wait for a train to come. When a train comes, you're gonna pose, but stay as still as you can because it's gonna be a low shutter speed. So if you move, you're gonna be blurry. Sick. So stand right here against the railing facing me. Stand this way. Do that again. When it's dark, this lens also like struggles with the autofocus. You ready? One more. Look at the light again. Stay there. And with that white light at the top, it just like looks like crazy. This one's gonna look cool too. You wanna see it?
Wow.
Badass, right? It's so like crisp.
I love them.
So guys, hope you enjoyed that POV footage. That was the first time, not the first time, that was the second time. The first time actually didn't go well at all, but that's the second time I've attempted to do the POV photography footage, and I really enjoyed it. So if you guys like that, let me know. Like, hit the like button. I'll definitely do more of that in the future. But overall, I think the photos came out really good. I enjoyed it. This isn't the first time I use this lens. I've been using this lens now for a few months. But this is the first time I've taken night portraits with this lens, and overall I think it worked really, really well. There's a few hiccups here and there with the focusing and stuff like that, but overall I have no issues with it. So I'm going to give you my overall thoughts on this lens and what I think about it. And just a little disclaimer, I'm not going to get super technical with this review. There's so many other better YouTubers right now on YouTube who have reviewed this lens already, who have really good technical footage and photos showing the capabilities of this lens and showing the sharpness and the corners and the center at different apertures and all that stuff. So if you're interested in those, definitely go check those out. This is just going to be my opinion, me talking briefly about the lens. So one of my biggest hesitations when switching from Sony to the Canon RF system was the cost and price of the lenses. Obviously, the Canon RF glass is very expensive, and since it's relatively new, there's not so much third-party support from like Sigma, so it's difficult to find lenses for less than $2,000, to be honest. So that was the biggest turn on when it came to getting this lens. This lens, I think, cost me about $650, which, you know, compared to the rest of the RF glass, it's really, really good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and list a few things that I like about this lens and a few things that I don't like. And the first thing, like I just mentioned, the price. I already went through it a little bit, but honestly, for the price, this lens is great. And there's not much else to say about it. The second thing about this lens that I love is the build quality. Even though it is $650, I don't feel like they compromise too much with the actual like exterior build quality. There's nothing shaking around on the inside. It's a hard plastic. It is a little glossy, but the most important thing is that it is weather sealed. So it does have the rubber O-ring around the edge here, which makes it weather sealed, which is very important, especially since this body is also weather sealed. So I don't have to worry about using this in like poor conditions and anything like that. The third thing that I like, and again, this is kind of relative to the price, is that the image quality is really good. It definitely isn't perfect, and I'll get into that and when I talk about things that I don't like, but overall for $650, whatever it is, This lens actually has a really good image quality in most situations. In the photos that you saw earlier, the transition from foreground, subject, and background, in my opinion, is very smooth. The background looks very smooth. And overall, I think for the price, this image quality is really good. Even during the day, I know I shot at night, but I've taken photos during the day with this lens, bright sunlight and everything, and this lens does carry its own very well. So then to talk about some things I don't like, the first thing is the autofocus isn't as good in my opinion as most of the RF glass. So even at nighttime, which this being a 1.4, even when I'm shooting at like 2.8, even to f4, I feel like the autofocus, specifically when it comes to the eye autofocus with humans or animals, I feel like the RF glass does it a little bit better than this. I'm assuming that just has to do with the like electronic connection between the third-party lens and the R6. And it's nothing too major, but it's not as perfect as the autofocus on the RF glass with the RF cameras. There's a few times in the POV video where you saw me kind of struggling with focus, and I was using, I was trying out different continuous and single shot focus, and both of them seem to struggle and be better in different ways and scenarios. And during the day, the autofocus is definitely better, but again, it doesn't feel as like perfect and flawless and 100% trustworthy like the RF glass. So another thing I don't necessarily love about this lens, but it's also not a big deal because this happens to so many lenses and you can just correct it when you're editing, which is usually what I do. And I don't have really any examples to show you, but this lens does vignette a lot, especially when you're shooting from 1.4 to 2.8. It tends to vignette a lot. It really, once you get to f4, it kind of goes away, and then at f8, there is no vignetting whatsoever. The lens stays sharp for the most part, but the vignetting is definitely there. But again, you can just edit that in post, and it's not a big deal to me. It's just something that is like an annoying thing that happens, but it also happens to so many lenses, so it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a point, but I just wanted to tell you guys. And I think the last thing that I don't like, especially specifically when shooting at night, is the bokeh. I'm sure you can see from the photos I was showing earlier, the bokeh balls, like the light of balls that bokeh, which sounds weird, but they're not perfectly circular. They're more of that like cat eye oval shape, which isn't a big deal. It doesn't bother me that much. Again, I'm not a nighttime portrait professional shooter. This isn't what I do necessarily for a living, so it's not going to bother me that much. They don't really get circular till you get into the middle of the lens, and I'll show an example on the screen. I've used other lenses that the bokeh balls stay pretty circular up until like the edges, so that's just something to keep in mind with this lens. If you're somebody who shoots night portraits all the time and you're very like keen on getting like this perfect bokeh, or bokeh, however you pronounce it, I think this lens does struggle a little bit with getting that clean like bokeh light in the background. So who do I think this lens is for? And to be honest, I think this lens is for anybody. If you're looking for a prime 85mm lens for the Canon RF system and you don't want to spend the amount of money it is to get the actual RF glass from Canon and you want to go with a cheaper option, this is, from what I know, probably the best option. Overall, I think this lens is really good for professional setting, for hobbyists, whatever it is. There's a few little things here and there compared to the Canon glass that aren't as good, but I think for $650, you're getting a huge value with this lens compared to the Canon lenses. Please make sure you like, please leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite photo was of the set that I showed earlier. And please, if you can, subscribe to the channel. I'm really trying to make this channel grow. I really enjoy making videos like this. So if you could, please subscribe. And also check me out on Instagram at jfernvisions. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.